Hey guys, the Patreon is back. If you want and are able to, you can directly support this podcast by signing up for the Would You Die Patreon for only $3 a month. You'll get exclusive content and monthly live streams, and as this brand continues to grow, I'll add more tiers with perks along the way. Also, while you're in the mood for supporting horror creators, check out Fangoria, one of the premier brands in horror. Fangoria has been delivering quality magazines since 1979. Each collectible issue features exclusive articles about your favorite monsters, as well as up-and-coming terrors. Be sure to check out the Fangoria store website for subscriptions and a bunch of cool merch. And while you're there, use promo code WoodYouDieShow for 20% off your entire order. That's right, 20% off your entire order. Applies to subscription and one-time orders, applies to the first subscription order only. Now, it's time to drop on by the Clown Cafe to discuss Art the Clown.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff.
Have you ever felt a knife cut through human flesh and scrape the bone beneath?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Be my victim.
You are all my children now.
Hello, my name is Austin Torres, and welcome to the Would You Die podcast, the show where we talk about our favorite horror monsters and villains. Today, I am joined by writer, director, and founder of Tin Hen Productions, known for short films like English Breakfast and The Hat Man. Please welcome my guest, Dustin Hendrix.
Thank you so, Austin. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Welcome, welcome. I am very excited to have you on because we're both Michigan filmmakers, and it's always nice to have friends in the Michigan horror filmmaking community. But most importantly, you picked a topic that in over 100 episodes of doing this podcast, no one has picked yet. And I am very surprised by that because he's kind of like one of the biggest things in horror right now. And I am talking about, I don't know how to describe him. It's Art the Clown. He's a fucking menace.
Yeah, he's an evil Mr. Bean that's how I refer to him as.
I love that. But yeah, he's super iconic. The Terrifier films are kind of some of the biggest things in horror right now. I think Terrifier 2 really turned heads. And of course, Terrifier 1 was like a cult smash hit. So I'm very excited to finally talk about those films on this podcast because no one's picked it as a top. Technically, I got to put an asterisk actually. I did have someone who's literally in the Terrifier movies on this show, and I had her on twice. Fans of the show, you might remember my friend Leah Voicey. Name drop. Yeah. But it was for different topics. So this is the first time Art the Clown has been a topic. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm honestly shocked too because I went through the list because everyone who knows me knows my obsession with Terrifier and like Art the Clown. And I was like, no one's picked him yet. I'm like, that can't be right.
And like, I have no problem redoing villains because, in my opinion, and I've done this, I did a whole month of talking about Michael Myers back to back to back. And for the most part, they were all pretty different episodes. The only thing was I was running out of things to say.
Oh, gotcha.
But each guest brought something new and something unique. But I did realize I probably shouldn't talk about the same villain 5 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably run out of things to say, just like Michael. Like he doesn't really say too much.
Right. But if I space it out, like if multiple people pick Michael Myers, but like someone picks it in January, then someone picks him in May, it's not nearly as bad. It's not as close together. I'll have new insights. Obviously, and what I think makes every episode unique is the guest.
Oh yeah. I mean, as I'm sure you've witnessed, but like, you know, everyone comes from different backgrounds and like has their own interests and the things that gets that spark in their eye. Like, you know, as soon as you mentioned Michael Myers, I was like, oh yeah, like that's that's my shit. I'm a David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy stan. So
I,
if you ever want to talk to someone who like actually loves those movies, like not ironically, like love my Michael.
yes, we're big fans of Mikey My My on this podcast. Believe you
Mm.
me. I do want to ask before we delve into the world of Art the Clown, before we get into the gritty, the nitty gritty, the nasty wasty. Do people say nasty? Anyways, when did you kind of first become like a horror fan? What is your horror origin?
Yeah, so my horror origin, which is a mouthful.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry about that.
no, that's cool. You also said horror world, and I was like, oh, say that three times fast. But no, so I would say my first horror movie was Jurassic Park. I consider Jurassic Park a horror movie. I don't know about you, but I have this memory of my parents took me to the drive-in, and I'm pretty sure you're like a huge fan of Jurassic Park. But
Yep.
my parents took me to the drive-in to see the Flintstones, and it was a double feature. It was that and Jurassic Park, and I fell asleep at the end of the Flintstones. And when I woke up was like the beginning of Jurassic Park when they got the raptors and the shooter. And
Yes.
I remember like I was crying and I was like, what is this? This is terrifying. Jurassic Park for me, that was my because it terrified me. You know, like I had nightmares for years of T Rex just like I'd be at my in the dream, I'd be in my parents' house and T Rex would like pop his head through like one of the windows and just eat me. And I had like recurring nightmares of that for the longest time. But I still loved it, you know, like I was obsessed with like dinosaurs. And I think that was kind of very early on. It was like, yes, this is really scary to me, but also like I kind of love it at the same time. I was pretty young. I was like 4.
Oh my goodness. I don't want to bore my consistent listeners because they already know. They already know my feelings on Jurassic Park. But I'll give the cliff notes. Jurassic Park is a horror movie by definition. And I've on this podcast I've done this rant multiple times, but basically it boils down to if you don't consider Jurassic Park horror, that leads to you not considering Frankenstein horror. And Frankenstein is like one of the pillar works of horror. Jurassic Park is a spiritual successor to Frankenstein. Not like a sequel, but the ideas presented in Frankenstein are apparent in Jurassic Park, kind of like Dr. Malcolm saying about the scientists, like stood on the Jurassic Park kind of stands on the shoulders of Frankenstein and takes the next step in terms of like themes. And there's other themes too, like man, like corporate greed and daddy issues. But anyways, um, not only is Jurassic Park just kind of in that Frankenstein family, it's also just a monster movie. It's a creature feature,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's a
monsters, scary monsters.
it's a subgenre of horror that a lot of people like. You see my Jaws poster there. There are people out there that don't think Jaws is a horror movie. And I'm just like, do y'all think when you talk?
So
Like, I'm
what is
sorry.
it? It's a drama, you know.
Oh,
Um,
what I hear is like it's more of a thriller. And it's like that's what a lot of people say when they like a horror movie, but they don't want to admit to themselves they like horror. They say it about Jaws, they say it about The Silence of the Lambs, they say it about Get Out, which all of these are nominated for Best Picture. It's a horror movie. It's fine. These are all horror
right.
movies. But yes, we are in camp. Jurassic Park is a horror movie.
Okay.
You
Great.
are in a safe space, my friend.
Excellent. I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was actually just playing the Jurassic Park Sega Genesis game, which I don't know if you ever played, but playing that now, it's surreal because I have a lot of nightmares I had which are based on levels in that game. So playing that game, it just gives me the creeps, especially when you see the T Rex head like pop out. Just it gets me straight triggered.
I love that. I've been a Jurassic Park fan for a very long time. I also watched it at a very early age. but I never played the Sega Genesis game.
Well, come over. We'll play it.
Let's do it. From Jurassic Park,
Mm.
where did that kind of lead you through? Like, what were kind of like the next horror movie? Because for me, Jurassic Park led directly into Jaws, which
Mm.
then led to the Universal monsters. I got a little bit older, then I got into Alien and Predator, and then like the great 90s creature features like Anaconda, Lake Placid, Deep Blue Sea. So I started from the monster creature feature, then kind of science fiction. They're all, you could argue a lot of these are science fiction anyways. And it wasn't until I saw Paranormal Activity in theaters when that came
Mm.
out when I was in high school, early high school, and then Scream a little bit after that. That's when high school was when I branched out from the monsters into like the supernatural and the demons and the slashers.
Yeah, it seems like a very logical transition. Like mine was pretty similar where I was at like Jurassic Park, and then I watched like Jaws, Gremlins.
Yeah, I
That was a
forgot
big one for
Gremlins.
me. That was a big one, which I have a memory of. I was young, and like I remember like my mom was out of town and I was with my dad. We rented Jaws and we rented Gremlins, and I had like a headache, and we got through Jaws, and then we got to like in Gremlins when I think it was the part when she's like microwaving them or something, but that's when I just ended up like my headache and everything just like turned to nausea, and I retched thanks to Gremlins.
Oh no.
So, but I still loved it, of course. And it was kind of weird because like I was also a big fraidy cat. Like growing up, like I would have nightmares all the time, and my parents didn't want me to. They didn't want me into horror because they were like, oh, it's just going to give you more nightmares. And one of the things that gave me nightmares was I used to go to the bookstore with my dad, and I would see the Goosebumps books because it was around when they had first started coming out. And the Night of the Living Dummy, that one in particular, like that one, scared me and gave me nightmares, like because it's just terrifying.
Yep.
And but then I was like, well, I wanna read it. Like I want to know what these books are about. So like for me, it was like a mixture of like fear and like fascination that always just like made you want to tiptoe, like being at the video rental store, want to tiptoe down the horror aisle to like look at the video boxes and go like, oh god, like I wonder what that one's about. Like that looks brutal. But yeah, so I would say like, I kind of started out with similar ones as you, and then I got to like Goosebumps. And then as I got older, I got into reading Stephen King. Because like I feel like that's every rite of passage, when you're like becoming a teen, you like start graduating to Stephen King. And I think the big one for me, because I wasn't really like a avid horror, like I wasn't like, oh, I love horror. I appreciated them. But when I saw Shaun of the Dead, because I was about 16 when that came out, and that for me, it like changed the game. Like I was like, oh my God, like it's like scary and gory and like hilarious, and like it made me cry and like all this
Oh.
and that the scene with his mom, like that always gets to me.
Yeah.
And that was around the time because my dad he would always tell this story about how he saw Night of the Living Dead when he was a kid and it like traumatized him. So like he didn't want that in the house. But after I saw Shaun of the Dead, it was like, well, now I have to check this stuff out. And so I started watching, like Dawn of the Dead and The Evil Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it just like blew my mind. And I just became obsessed. And then I saw, as you can see, I finally saw The Thing, and then that for me, like just I can't say enough good things about John Carpenter's The Thing, but it was kind of like just a gradual progression that started as fascination and then just became now it's like it's my main personality trait.
That's awesome. I gotta mention to you, because you mentioned
Sure.
Gremlins. I love Gremlins. I love them so much. It's my favorite Christmas movie.
Thank you. Not a lot of people mention it when it comes to Christmas movies.
I always do. For me, my three favorite Christmas movies, without question, are Gremlins, Elf, It's a Wonderful Life.
Three bangers.
I agree. I agree. But reason why I'm kind of going this route is apparently Terrifier 3 is going to be a Christmas movie.
Oh gosh, yes, I
Did
cannot
you
wait.
did you know that? I'm assuming you did.
Yeah, I might have been there when they because they brought back Terrifier 2, they did like a re-release. They had the posters, which I don't know if you heard, but like because they didn't announce that it was a Christmas movie. That was going to be a surprise, but it got
Mhm.
leaked. And because somebody found out that the posters they were giving away is Art the Clown and like dressed as a Santa, like in a Santa
Yeah.
costume. And so we're like, oh. And so yeah, I got to see like the teaser trailer because it didn't go online or anything. They showed it after Terrifier 2. So it was really fun to see seeing the teaser trailer and then seeing everybody's reaction after. Did you see the teaser trailer, by the way?
I did when they put it online. I didn't go to the Terrifier 2 re-release, but I did see the poster online and then I did see the teaser trailer.
Yeah, and people were losing their minds because
Oh
they were like, "Oh,
yeah.
because he's gonna kill a kid," and I'm like, "Like, do you watch horror movies?" Yeah, like for real.
I
Like,
I was pointing at Boba Fett for a
oh, I thought you
second.
were pointing at Jaws.
I was, but I like noticed I was pointing at
Uh,
Boba Fett first. I'm like, oh, he maybe. I don't know. But
I mean,
Josh.
yeah, there could there could be a backstory we're not aware of yet, but
But yeah, I was pointing at Jaws because like the horror movies kill kids a lot. Like When Evil
yeah.
Lurks.
Oh God,
uh
that movie.
there's more. There's more. It's like the whole plot of Sinister.
Oh gosh, yeah.
The Black Phone. Whole plot of that too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know about you, but I saw the Black Phone once, and like I really enjoyed it. I love Scott Derrickson, but like some of the scenes in that movie, like not even just with the dude's name, Ethan
Ethan
Hawke,
Hawke.
Ethan
Yeah.
Hawke's character. His scenes were like fine, but like there were some scenes in it with the kids and like their parents that, which I don't want to say it like just because content warning, but like it genuinely like disturbed me because I didn't know that the movie was going to be tackling those kind of themes. Yeah. So, but yeah, and it's not. This isn't the first time we've seen something like that happen in a horror movie. So I didn't quite get. Also, like nothing happened in the teaser trailer. Like you just saw the
Right.
girl say like Santa, and then it's really not Santa, and he's like, oh yeah. But
Although, to be fair, it is Art the Clown. Yeah. When it comes to that silly little guy,
true,
you,
true,
you just assume the worst.
right. But it's like that's on you. Like wherever your imagination went, like you got yourself upset.
Right. Exactly. I didn't think that. I just thought, oh shit, he killed Santa.
Right. Yeah. I honestly I didn't think the thought didn't come to mind that like, oh, they're because I don't know if the little girl like actress is gonna be like in Terrifier 3. So I don't know
Right.
what they're gonna do, but I am very curious because Damien, he pays attention to what people say, like when they're talking about his movies like online and stuff. So I'd
Mhm.
be very curious to see what he ends up doing, knowing that people lost their minds over this teaser. Like he's going to be all right if you thought that was bad.
If I was him, and he seems like the coolest dude, but if
Oh
I was
gosh,
him,
yeah.
I would lean into it. I'd be like, I
Like
got it
all right,
now.
we got a whole room full of kids now. Like they're all
That's the thing. And I'm sure it's different for every person, but for me, that's one of the points of Terrifier is to where's where's the boundary? Because we're gonna fucking pole vault over that shit. You know what I mean?
right. No, 100%.
I'm very interested. When did you first see Terrifier?
So it's funny because I had heard about Terrifier like a few years ago because I think the first one came out in like 2017, and around that time, we were getting like the It remake. We had like that clown movie that Eli Roth produced. Like there's a lot of like clown movies coming out, and I saw It, but like I wasn't like super into like some of the other ones. Like some of the films I tend to watch are more like obscure. Not selling hits to it, but like Terrifier for me, it didn't really like stand out a whole lot. It seemed like another like clown like a clown horror movie. And then Terrifier 2 came out, and I was hearing like things about it, and I meant to go see it, but like I didn't get to. But then I started hearing all of the, the people like fainting and like vomiting in the theaters and stuff. I was like, okay, like I'm not used to seeing that with like a modern horror movie where like people are like vomiting and passing out. So my first experience with Terrifier was actually watching the second one, because my brother ended up bringing it over and we watched it. And like I'll be honest, like I didn't really have like expectations for it. I was just like, I know it's like a killer clown movie and like that's it. But I was not prepared for that movie, and especially when it came to the bedroom scene, that I will fully admit it, that fucked me up like big time. Because I have had this like, because I've been blessed with anxiety, so I'll have like this I'll have this recurring like thought of like, oh, what if you didn't lock a door, or what if you didn't, and I'll always have this thought of like, what if I'm just chilling and all of a sudden there's just this like crazy evil person who's just there, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm done for. And like the bedroom scene and that in Terrifier 2, like it felt really close to like where my mind has gone when I'm like thinking of that. But it took it a step further because as you know, like the scene keeps going and going. And then you think it's done, and then he comes back again. And I remember sitting there, and there was something, maybe something in my psyche or something, but something really just fucked me up in that scene and like in that moment. And I was like, I feel like if there was like real evil, like this is what it would look like, because it would gleefully take the light and what it's doing and like inflicting pain on this person. So I will fully admit, like after watching Terrifier 2, like I was not right for about a couple weeks.
I'm starting to think I might not be right in the head. Because I get that. Don't get me wrong. But when I saw Terrifier 2, this is going to sound horrible because it's grotesque and it's nasty and it's mean. And part of me is like, but kind of funny though.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that bedroom scene. And if you guys haven't seen Terrifier 2, try it. See if you can stomach it. And if you guys have seen it, then you guys know what we're talking about. For me, that scene is just like, it's horrific and it's grueling, but then it just kind of hits this point and then it becomes funny because it keeps
Mm-hmm.
going. It's like almost like a Family Guy skit where like
Mm-hmm.
Peter like is riding the tricycle and he falls down and bashes his knee and he's like, ah. And then it starts to get annoying and then it starts to get funny again. It's almost like that where it's like
Okay.
Art the Clown is doing that poor girl nasty and just killing her in the most drawn out and painful, brutal way. And it's horrifying and it's disturbing. But Art the Clown just keeps going. And I'm like, and then it becomes funny. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm messed up. But then again, I host a horror movie
No.
podcast.
Right. No, I don't think you're messed up. And like I think it was just like my unpreparedness and like not it's like the shock of it. But I think once I got over like that initial shock, it is like grotesquely, I mean, the character of Art, like he's a clown, you know.
Yeah.
Like he's an evil clown, but he's still a clown. And clowns are funny. That's by design, in nature or whatnot. Like clowns are funny. And he does a lot of funny, silly things. But then he'll do these horrible things, and he's still doing it for a laugh. Like he still thinks it's like funny. So I think like right off the bat, like that really messed me up. But once I got like past that, and also like I became super obsessed, and then I ended up getting to meet David Howard Thornton last year, and so that really changed my view of his character. Like I will admit, I still like whenever I'm like in the basement doing laundry, I'll think like, oh God, I hope Art the Clown's not here. Like I would not want to bump into him. But like having met David, he's just like the sweetest, like down earth guy. Like he's just like he's so chill. He's just like he's like a nerd like me, and like because I don't know, like in my head I kind of expected like he might seem like a little off, like because he's got this like Art the Clown character locked away. But no, he was just like the chillest dude and like so sweet, and like and honestly, that's what I appreciate about the Terrifier movies. Is like you could watch it and you could be like, oh, this is disgusting, it's horrible, this is garbage. But then when you look at the people who made it, like they're all very like sweet, loving people. Like they're all like they're like a family, you know. It's just like it's really cool. And you know, it's not like they knew what they were doing, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, we really want to make people starve. Like, you know, Damien had he had a vision for it, and they all worked together and like achieved it. And they did it for 250,000, which even in like the indie film world, like that's still like almost nothing. And the hype train like has just continued to grow. Like I feel like we're in like a really good era if you're like a horror fan, because like it's been really exciting to see like, you know, the successes of this. And like I really enjoyed Skinamarink. Like I thought it was amazing to see a movie like that do so well, a movie made for like nothing. But like just being able to be here, and we're you know, like I was too young when like Friday 13th and like Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Halloweens, when those were coming out, and like those were like the big icons. Like we're here, and like Art the Clown, he's still like a kind of like smaller compared to like some of the long time guys, but like I'm like this is really cool, like to be able to witness that, because
Yeah.
for me this is like kind of the first time I've been able to like be there when this new like horror icon is like exploding.
Yeah, because I think there's been some valiant attempts, but Art the Clown, I think, is really the first true horror icon since Ghostface to really break the mainstream. And I think there's been attempts, and like I think of like the Hatchet franchise and Victor Crowley. I love Victor Crowley, but Victor Crowley I think is big in the horror world. He is not mainstream. I don't think the mainstream knows Victor Crowley. Whereas Art the Clown was on like the news for making people puke.
Yeah.
And then like I think Orphan, Esther from Orphan, I think she's kind of becoming a horror icon. I think she's in the same realm as Victor Crowley, maybe a bit more mainstream, but I don't think she's quite mainstream either. Who are some other kind of horror icons? It's hard because I think in order to be a horror icon, you need a sequel to really cement yourself.
Mhm.
So like maybe Megan could become a horror icon.
So I watched like half of Megan. I was on an airplane, so I will
Uh-huh.
admit I didn't finish watching it. But from what I saw, there was almost like no horror elements, and I'm like, they marketed this as a horror movie, and like, does it go like full on horror in like the second half? Because
I
like,
think it's teen like not even a teen, like a tween horror movie.
okay,
And there's more of the
like
horror
Blumhouse.
elements in the second half, but it's definitely, well, it's PG-13, so it's kind of, there's that. It's enough to qualify it as a horror movie, but a lot of it's in the second half, kind of like Jurassic Park, where there's not as
Mm,
much the first half of Jurassic Park, other than like the shooter. It's mostly um the awe and wonder, and then the T-Rex breaks out, and then it's like a real horror movie as soon as it hits the second
right.
half. Megan kind of operates like that. I didn't expect to be talking about Frankenstein so much in this Art the Clown episode, but Megan kind of reminds me of Frankenstein in this, are like The Fly,
Mm,
where
right.
those don't. Well, Frankenstein starts off as a horror movie because it's like immediate. That's like, yeah, we made a dude made out of cadavers. So, that's pretty horrific. But like The Fly takes its time to get into the horror, and I think Megan's kind of
Gotcha.
similar to that. But I think that movie got mainstream. I think a lot of people know who Megan is, but is that going to stick, or is that just kind of like a fad? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, I can't say because I didn't get to finish the second half of Megan, but like I've seen, you know, in the trailer, like it looks like she may do some killing. I don't want to. I mean, I haven't seen it, so it wouldn't be a spoiler because I don't even know what happens in it. But like, like if she kills people, like would you see them going like her becoming essentially like a slasher like icon, or like in that realm?
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's kind of in the same realm as Chucky.
Okay, which is that's what I was like expecting when I, you know, first put it on. But it seemed like more, at least the way it was like setting it up, it was like more lighthearted and like emotional and stuff. But that's what I love
I
about like the
definitely
horror
think
genre.
I definitely think it's very lighthearted. But like I said, I think it's like a
Mm.
tween horror movie, which I think is great. I think the kids need more horror. That being said, when I saw Terrifier 2 in theaters, there was like an 8-year-old girl in front of me and my friend. And I was both horrified and really like impressed. Like, you go, girl.
And she got to sit through the whole thing,
She went
like no
to the
biggie.
bathroom during one of the more graphic scenes, and I was like,
Okay.
that did it. But she came back a few minutes later. I'm like, oh, this is a longer movie, so
It is pretty long.
that little girl sat through the whole thing. Well, I don't know who it was she was with. It could have been like her cool aunt. Like, oh, you want to see the Killer
Mm.
Clown movie? I'll take you to see the Killer Clown movie. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
But I don't know the situation. And some kids can handle horror, so I
Oh
wouldn't
yeah.
have been able to handle that though.
I definitely I definitely would not. I couldn't even handle dinosaurs. But yeah, like now that you mention it, because I in these events, because I got to meet, as I mentioned, David Howard Thornton, I got to meet James Jude Courtney, who played Michael Myers in the David Gordon Green
Yep.
trilogy. And being at these events and seeing all the kids, like kids are really into, I don't know if the parents let them watch it yet, but kids are really into like Art the Clown and Terrifier, and and of course like kids love Jason, Freddy, Michael, like they love all those guys. But we're seeing that, and that's what's like, it's like weird but cool. It's like this movie like messed me up, and now like I'm seeing like kids who are, maybe they're not seeing all the scenes, but like they are fans of Art the Clown, and I don't know, I just think it's really cool. And I don't know if Damien, like, I don't know if he was imagining that like when he first came up with the character, or he was expanding it. But yeah, it just seems like it's this like hype train that's just continued to grow. And because I'm in some like groups for like Terrifier fans, and people are just like really like I don't know, it's like almost like like a family, but like like everyone's like we all like get it, like we all get like why we love Terrifier and why we love Art the Clown. Like he's silly, he's menacing, he's scary, he's not a kind of person you would want to bump into.
Nope.
But there's just something about it, because he just, even in like the, with everything we've gotten in the past and everything we're getting now with like the Blumhouse productions, he stands out. And you mentioned this too, but like I thought it was wild to see, I saw Terrifier 2, and then like shortly after that, Pete Davidson had like a show. I
Yeah.
forgot what it was on, but like Art the Clown was like in the show, like he was in the trailer, and I'm like, huh? I'm like, because as an avid horror fan, I'm not used to seeing like these like indie horror icons in like more like mainstream shows
Right.
and stuff.
And yeah, art's definitely broken through the mainstream in a way that other horror icons haven't, like I said, since Ghostface. Although there's been good character. Like I think Victor Crowley's a really good character. I think Esther from Orphan's a really good character. Leslie Vernon from Behind the Mask,
Oh gosh,
I think he's a
that's a
bit of a
gem.
deeper cut, but that's a great movie. That's a great, I guess the only mainstream ones I can think of are Annabelle from The Conjuring
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
also The Nun from The Conjuring. I would say those are the other horror icons. Cause like they got Funko Pops. They're icons. But everything else, it seems like I don't think it breaks the mainstream, or it's just revisits of older icons. Like the new It
Mhm.
movies did amazing at the box office. And Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise is iconic, and
Mhm.
kids love Pennywise. So I don't know what it is about kids and fucking murder clowns, but the kids love their fucking murder clowns. Anyways, I don't consider Pennywise a current icon or like a one of this generation's icons, because we have the Tim Curry Pennywise from when we were
Mhm.
kids. And then of course there's a book from the 80s. I mean, Ghostface is back and dominating, you know. Michael Myers came back, and I know Halloween ended, but did it really? Are you sure about
Mhm.
that?
I mean, did we get a good look at the mask at the end? Because I'm like, was there a silver shamrock logo on the mask? Like,
I think when they bring back Mikey My My, I do think it's going to be a reboot or a remake. I don't think they're going to continue the David Gordon Green storyline, which is nice because if you're going to call something Halloween Ends, it deserves that ending. But there's already like 4 fucking timelines. Why not make another? Like, you
I
can't
mean,
kill
just
the
ask
boogeyman.
Texas Chainsaw. Like,
Right. Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with it, I don't think. Because I hope Damien Leone gets to make as many or as little Art the Clown movies as he wants. Because selfishly, as a fan, I want to see what you can give me. Whether it's good or bad or ugly or whatever, I love these characters. I love, a lot of times I love the music. Like,
mm,
whether or not I like a Halloween movie, every time the bum 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 comes on, I'm jamming.
mhm,
I'm
right.
I'm bopping in the theater. But at the end of the day, whether the new installment is good or bad, the original is still there. And
Yeah, exactly.
a lot of times these sequels bring renewed interest into the originals. Like everybody loves Scream now. But with the new
Mhm.
Scream movie coming out, I think it awokened it a lot in a lot of people. I don't think a bunch of new Scream fans just popped out of nowhere. I just think a bunch
Yeah.
of people realized, oh, wait, I am a Scream fan. I love these movies. And it could be more that I'm like paying attention better now, actually having a teeny tiny presence in the horror world with a podcast and shit. But I feel like when I was like in high school and college, I didn't know other Scream fans online. And Scream 4 came out when I was in high school. But then again,
Right.
that was a long time ago, and I had like maybe like 5 friends on Facebook. Now I have a few more. So
Yeah, because I saw. I mean, I was aware of like the Scream hype, when that came out, and parents were like, "Oh, don't see it." But I saw the only one I got to see in theaters was Scream 4, which I thought that was really cool. It was also cool because around that time I helped out on a short film that was filmed in the same hospital that they shot like the ending of Scream 4. So like it was cool to
ah,
like be there, but then also like see it like in the movie. But yeah, like you said, I don't remember like people like because now it's like like even at my work we have like a horror group, and like most people are just like Scream is their favorite like horror movie, like period. And I feel like there's like a lot of people like that. So like personally, I was not a big fan of Scream 5.
mhm.
Like it's just not the for me. It wasn't the same without Wes Craven. But Scream 6 was better. But I think it kind of awakened that because it's something I'm experiencing now because you enjoy something when you're young, and then maybe you don't think about it too much, but then you like might remember it, and then there's that nostalgia factor. You're like, oh man, I remember seeing this. I was just a teen, or I was at like a sleepover or like whatnot. So I think like having these like doing like newer versions or sequels now, and it's cool because it's bringing people together. It's creating new fans who, like you mentioned, they get to like go back and watch the originals. My personal hope is that they do go back and watch the originals. Especially if your first experience with the thing was watching the thing prequel, which a lot of people don't know that's a prequel. They think it's a remake. Like, it's actually a prequel because no, it is a prequel though. But like, my hope is that they go back and watch like the John Carpenter, original, because that for me is just like my favorite horror film. And it's like it's a mixture of just like horror, suspense, sci-fi. Like it's got gore. It's like perfect. Yeah. So I'm on board. The thing is like I'm on board with like getting more sequels and everything. And like obviously I don't want things to just be a cash grab. But
Right.
and like with Terrifier, because it is a thing where it's like, God, I would love to see more of these movies, but then also like I wouldn't want to see, like a meh Terrifier movie, like one where it's like, like they kind of jump the shark a bit. Like I just appreciate that Damon's just getting to do his thing and he's having from what I understand, he's having minimal studio involvement, which if you're a filmmaker, you know, like what a blessing that is. I mean, I don't have to deal with any of that because, you know, as an indie filmmaker, I don't have to deal with the studios, but I know what that process is like and how many movies we've seen, gosh, where all the flaws in the movie are because studios got involved. They were like, oh no, you should do this. But anyways, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, you bring up a really good point with The Thing, because it's funny. A lot of people forget that, like, John Carpenter's The Thing, it's like that itself is a remake. But it's so iconic. It's so iconic. That's like one of the instances where a remake is so good, it kind of erases your original from the public eye a little bit, because no one talks about the 1950s Thing from Another World, which is a shame because that's a pretty good movie. But at the same time, John Carpenter kind of improved on it in every single capacity and way.
Oh, right.
Like, John Carpenter's The Thing might be one of the most iconic horror movies ever made.
Oh, 100%. And it's like the thing about The Thing is that it blows my mind to watch the film now and to think how we consider it a classic. But like when it came out, like pretty much everyone hated it. Like critics hated it, audiences hated it, and I think that's what really made John Carpenter be like, you know, fuck it, because that was his like magnum opus. So it is really interesting to see like that arc.
And it's interesting because a lot of people at that time compared it unfavorably to the original The Thing from Another World. And nowadays, like I said, a lot of people don't even know that 50s version exists.
Right.
Whereas I think people remember there's a, like, the 1950s The Day the Earth Stood Still, and they remember the 1960s Planet of the Apes. Even though those new Planet of the Apes movies are excellent, people remember, yeah, the original from the 60s. I think Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds was very iconic and did very well. But I think a lot of people remember there was a War of the Worlds in the 50s. I think I see references to that here and there. But yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing was so good. I think people forget about that poor 50s version.
Which
Um,
I will admit, I own that movie. I've not gotten to watch it yet. Like I put it on a couple of times, but like never got to like finish it. But I'm gonna give it a proper watch.
I mean, it's funny because, like, I was introduced to that one first. I will
Interesting.
always have a special place in my heart for that one. But I feel like if you started with the 80s version, I could see one being understandably disappointed by the 50s version.
I can't think of anybody I've met that has seen the original before the John Carpenter.
Well, it's funny because my grandpa showed me the 50s version, and he did not like the 80s version. But you
Oh
got
yeah.
to realize he was young when the 50s version came out. He was an adult when the 80s version came out. And like a bunch of people, when the thing came out, hated that movie, but they loved the 50s version. so
Mm-hmm.
so I think, I mean, I love them both. If I had to pick one, I would pick the 80s version. But
Okay.
but I do love them both. And hot take, I don't hate the 2011 prequel. Let's bring it back to Terrifier.
Oh yes, yes.
Probably like some of the gnarliest shit I've seen put to film.
Yeah, I would put it for me. It was like I mean, you know, the bedroom scene and then the hacksaw scene in the first one. But there's something about seeing something that's it's gruesome and horrifying, but it's also like real, like it's a real prop, and it's like a magic. You know, it's like doing a magic trick. It's like tricking the audience
Yeah.
into like thinking that is what's happening. And that's what I love about the practical effects in those movies. Even if like maybe in like the first Terrifier, like it does look more you can tell it looks more like handmade. But you're like seeing these things and it makes it like all the more gruesome. Could you imagine if like the bedroom scene and Terrifier 2 if that was like done with CGI or something like that. Like I feel like we
Right.
probably wouldn't be talking about it.
Right. Exactly. I feel the same way. I got a couple questions for you because
Shoot.
I'm curious. It'll be a kind of like a Terrifier quick questionnaire. That's not it. I'm a podcast host. Anyways, um I'll shoot these off rather quickly because I want to get your instant reactions.
Okay.
Who is your favorite non-Art the Clown Terrifier character?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be Sienna.
That's fair. Hyena's great.
She's just instant icon. You know, like, and I think she's a just a perfect like final girl, and I find her like the more I've gone back and watched that movie, I really like connect with her character in a way, and I feel like that's how a lot of people have felt.
Yeah, I like the first Terrifier movie, but I don't revisit it often. I also have a really strange introduction to that movie. I don't think I've said it on the
Oh,
podcast. You want to hear this story?
yeah, absolutely.
I don't think the podcast listeners have heard this one yet. And if you did, I'm sorry. I don't remember. Anyways, my introduction to Terrifier, my friend, I'll name drop him, Doug. If y'all know Doug, Doug's been on the show a couple times, and I know a lot of listeners know who Doug is. Anyways, that beautiful, wonderful human being. I was over at his place and we were partaking in adult beverages. And I had quite a few throughout that day because it was like a Michigan State game day, and I had been drinking since the AM. And it was, I want to say, like 11 p.m. at this point, 11 p.m., close to midnight. It was late, and I was very inebriated, is the word I'm looking for. He puts on Bird Box because Bird Box had just come out, and I hadn't seen it yet. I think it was only been on Netflix for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So, but I still hadn't seen it. And he's like, Austin, you have to watch Bird Box. You'll really like it. And I'm like, okay, sure, yeah, but I'm tired and I've been drinking all day. I don't think I'm going to stay awake. And lo and behold, I start dozing off. I start like falling asleep. And I didn't want to because I was enjoying that movie, but at some point I must have passed out. But it was like one of those falling asleep but you don't realize you fall asleep. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was one
yeah.
of so I don't realize I fall asleep, but I did. And all of a sudden, there's this clown, and he's taking, I think, a meat cleaver, bashing some pizza worker's head in, and it's
Mhm.
gross and it's gnarly. And in, in my drunken, just woken up state of mind, I'm just like, Bird Box got really weird. And then, and then my friend Doug, he's just like, Bird Box ended. We're watching Terrifier now. I'm
Like
like,
that was hours ago.
I don't know what that is. And then I think I fell asleep again. And I hadn't seen Terrifier all the way through until after I saw Terrifier 2 in theaters.
Okay. So
But
you just had this like vague fugue steak or whatnot of that was your first taste of Art the Clown was just like half awake on a couch wondering what's going on.
which honestly is kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's the kind of movie I'd want to wake up on the couch to.
No, 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 it is not. Thanks, Doug, if you're listening. But but
I
no,
mean, Doug
that's
seems like a good guy to me, so
but I think that's probably one of my favorite pranks I've ever fallen victim to. Because that is a fun story. Funnily enough, Doug was the one who saw Terrifier 2 with me.
oh right on. So
So
he's a fellow art head. I don't know what the term is for fans, but
yeah, oh yeah, Arthead, I'm sure. He's the one that got me into Terrifier. So thank you, Doug.
nice.
But yeah, I'll always have a fond memory of that. What is your favorite Art the Clown kill?
I know I've mentioned it a lot, the bedroom scene, but I feel like he's got some underrated stuff. Like when he in the first movie when he drives in with the truck. I forget which character it is, but like he basically runs somebody over with this truck, and then he's just sitting in the truck, and there's like this like avant-garde like jazz music, and he's just like he's just like sitting in the truck and just like vibing. And like that scene is just like incredible, like because it's not even just like the kill, but it's just like the whole like he's just being a clown, he's just being a goof. I love little moments like that, but like obviously like the bedroom scene is that whole thing, and the way it plays out is a for me it's like a technical marvel on a very horrific, and as you mentioned, like you know it's so like over the top, it's hilarious. And like I mentioned, just for me, it just took a moment for me to be like, oh yeah, this is kind of funny. Once you get over like that initial like shock, I would say those are the top two that come to mind.
That's awesome. And you might have already answered this also. What is your favorite non-violent Art the Clown moment?
Oh, I so I love the moments of like gallows humor where like specifically in the Terrifier 2 when he's in the laundromat. And it's when they use the moments of him not speaking or making any noise, and they use it for comedic effect. But it's when he's looking at the newspaper, and it's family of four dies in car crash, and then it just cuts to him, and he's just like cracking up, like he thinks he just read like you know the funny section of like a newspaper, and it's like those little moments. I love them.
I think I'll answer this one too. I love the scene of Art the Clown trying on the sunglasses when he's
Oh God,
harassing
yeah.
Sienna in the Halloween store. I think that's one of my favorite images of him in those, I think, flower sunglasses. Honestly, I might use that as the promo image for this episode is Art the Clown in those glasses.
You should, because that is like I would say another like iconic moment from those movies, because I've seen that image and I've seen people getting that him trying on the glasses, getting like that tattooed like on them. Like people love that scene.
Yeah, I know. And that's a look. That's an iconic look. My friend Adam, he's been on this show before too. He's an artist, and if you guys go to like the horror conventions and you see the art of a booth for Adam's art box, he has some of the coolest horror art. Shout out to my friend Adam. But he has this really great piece of Art the Clown and those glasses, and it kind of has like an 80s vibe to it. And
Oh,
I'll
that's
have
sick.
to find, I'm not gonna find it right now. I'll find it when we're not recording because I want to be professional for the camera. But I'll find it in a little bit. I'll send it to you or something. But
No,
because
I'd love to check it out.
you'd really appreciate that piece. But no, I love that scene. I love that look.
Too
I think
good.
that's a great look. I think he's gonna rock the
Mm.
Santa outfit though.
Oh God, I don't think the world is ready for art
I'm
just
not.
going around gleefully as Santa. I don't know. I don't know if we're ready for it.
I'm definitely not. I'm gonna have to watch Gremlins before and after to kind of uh get me back. Another question. I think this one's a fun one. If you could make a crossover with Art the Clown and any other horror icon, who would it be and why?
I would say right off the bat, I would have to pick Freddy Krueger,
Mm,
and I think it has a lot to do with how because David Howard Thornton like obviously he loves and appreciates the character and what Robert Englund brought to that character, and so I would love to see those two like coming together, not like fighting each other, like you know Freddy versus Jason, but like can you imagine like Art and he being able to like go into people's dreams like I don't I don't even want to think about that because I want to sleep tonight. But I would love to see them like you know together.
yes. I think I'm gonna answer this one too. I'm gonna give you two
Okay.
answers. The one I want to see is Victor Crowley versus Art the Clown, because that matchup would be insane.
That
Probably
would be
the most splattery slashers there are.
yeah.
So much blood being spilled, so much guts all over the place. It would be beautiful. It would be amazing. But the one I'd want to make, it might sound like a stretch, but there is a little bit of logic to it. It will
Okay.
never happen, but I really want there to be a movie of a predator in that suburb where Terrifier takes place, and he's
Wow.
hunting Art the Clown, and he's kind of like one step
Mm,
behind. So the predator kind of he's hunting Art the Clown because that's what predators do is they hunt the most dangerous beings.
okay, yeah.
So I think Art the Clown would be an amazing hunt for the predator, and I can see like the predator kind of like one step behind, like seeing the aftermath of Art the Clown doing Art the Clown shit, but staying one step ahead of like the local authorities or the final, you know what I mean?
hmm I could honestly see, because that would be awesome. Like maybe not like Predator, but like can you imagine if like in the like Terrifier franchise, if they like kind of introduce that element where they like we know what Art's capable of, so we're gonna send this like or like even like a Terminator type, like sending from the past to like go after, and so you have like these two like a cat and mouse game almost. There's a lot of potential there. We need to call Damien like right now. Like like this is just we're basically just this is money right here, you know.
But I like your idea of kind of like Art and Freddy teaming up because that's just scary.
That would be scary. Like what I think is most scary about Art the Clown is just how, even though he's like supernatural, but like how real he seems. Like he seems like somebody that you could just unfortunately come across on
Yeah.
like a bad day, you know. And so definitely somebody I would not want to bump into in like real life, but let alone if I'm like asleep and I'm dreaming, and knowing him being a clown in his imagination, I would not want to. I'd be curious to see like what that type. But I guess I mean we kind of saw that in what do you call it, in Terrifier 2, the like the clown cafe scene.
Yeah.
We got that like nice David Lynch kind of scene there that's like surreal. So like I'd say something like that, but him having no limits, yeah, that's too much.
Because I know you want to sleep peacefully tonight, I only have one last question, and it's the scariest question of the night.
Oh boy.
If you came face to face with Art the Clown, would you die?
So I have been thinking about this question, and my answer would be dependent on if I'm caught off guard, because you know, like thinking about it, like when you see the characters in the Terrifier movies, usually they're not a good. It's like wrong place, wrong time. Like you shouldn't be there. I feel like it would not end well for me if like because for example, I and I will fully admit to this, but when I'm at home by myself, I will occasionally just like imagine like what if Art the Clown was just there, and then all of a sudden he's just like, you know, chasing me. Like what would I do? So I think if he got the element of surprise, I know I'd probably be done for. And that's the thing that's interesting about him is that he doesn't seem like super like he doesn't have quite like the strength of like Victor Crowley, you know, or
Yeah.
Jason Voorhees, but he usually gets like the element of surprise where he'll like sneak up on you. So I think if not toot my own horn, but if I ended up going mano a mano with Art, that I might need to sacrifice some blood or limbs, but I could maybe escape. But if he caught me off guard and started doing like God knows what, I would not be here. So
I want you to keep that confidence. That being said, I do have to say some things about Art, which might shake the confidence a little bit.
okay, let's hear it.
I think Art is deceptively strong. I do agree. I don't think he's as
Mm,
strong as Jason Voorhees or Victor Crowley, but I do think Art the Clown is deceptively strong. And it might not seem that way because I think a lot of us kind of think of him like going after Jenna Cannell and Catherine Corcoran in the first one and then like fighting mano a mano with Sienna. But then like I think it's easy to forget like a lot of the dudes that Art the Clown kills are bigger than him.
Mm,
Like the
right.
Halloween store clerk was bigger. I think the two pizza peeps were bigger than Art, and he still manhandled them like nothing. The other thing is Art has a really good kill ratio. Most of the
Yeah.
people in the movies who encounter I think if I remember correctly, the only people who encounter Art the Clown and live are what's her name, Vicky in the first one. And
Hmm.
do you really want to live after that?
No,
It it's like she's
not really.
crazy. She turns crazy because and understandably, and then Sienna and her brother.
Right.
That's only three.
That's it.
Like I think Michael Myers has spared more people than Art the Clown.
Yeah, I'd
I
be
think
curious.
Michael Myers has killed more people than Art the Clown, but Michael Myers has like 9 more movies.
Right. Yeah, I'd be curious on the kill ratio, for each. But no, that is a good point because he even with the dudes like who are like trying to fight back or whatnot, like they do not last long. Now I'm like curious. I'm like, how strong is Art? I wanna somebody to figure out the science. Like
Right.
we need to know.
And then does Sienna count? Because I think Art technically killed Sienna.
I would very much say so. Like he killed her and killed her and killed her and killed her. Like she should definitely be dead. I interpreted that she was resurrected, which because we have the like the angel and demon like archetypes
Yeah.
in the movie. So I definitely think personally that she died, but she was able to be resurrected, through like the power of the sword that her dad like made. So I guess if you do count Sienna, then that would mean everybody who's met Art except 2 people died, and one of them I wouldn't really quite say that they are living a good life.
Right. Right. So I don't want to be that guy because I tried to like let everyone answer their own, but I'm like, when it comes to Art the Clown, I got to do the Tim Robinson. Are you sure about that?
Yeah, you sure about that?
Oh, that was good. That was really good.
Oh, probably because I say it a lot.
We got to. We're Metro Detroiters.
Oh yeah,
So,
no,
but
yeah, it's
yeah,
become part of my vocabulary now.
good. But usually as like a running gag, I always say I'm gonna die to the topic at hand
Hmm.
because it's funny. Art the Clown 100%. Like I would die. Like I would there's no thinking. The only question for me is can he please kill me quickly? Art the Clown is scary.
Yeah,
And he's just it's so painful like and the other thing is if you get the upper hand on him like Jenna Cannell did, I don't remember her character's name. I keep wanting to say Dawn, but I think that's Catherine Corcoran's character. But anyways, Jenna Cannell's character, she gets the upper hand. She starts kicking Art's ass.
yeah,
And then Art fucking shoots her.
yeah. And I think that that's it. Is that no one really quite, except for Stan, of course, but like no one ever quite. They think they gained the upper hand, but he's always got a little trick up his sleeve.
And I think Jenna Cannell's character actually got the upper hand. Tara. It's Tara.
Oh yes, yes.
It's Tara. Watch, it's not Tara. I'm just thinking of. I didn't look it up.
It's
It just
Dawn.
popped in
No,
my. Yeah, yeah. I gotta look this up. I'm sorry.
right.
I should be a better horror fan, guys.
You are good. Yeah. Unfortunately, I also struggle remembering the names of all the characters.
It's Tara. I was right.
Okay. Which yeah makes sense because I'm like, oh, Terra, Terrifier, haha. Like,
Austin won the world 9,058.
I mean, those are pretty good odds.
Yes. But but no, I actually think Tara was winning that fight, and Art the Clown was
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Fuck this bullshit," and Indiana Jones her
Yeah, he's a little sneak.
disrespectful. And
Straight up disrespect.
and that's evil. That he is so evil because like he does not care for rules or honor.
No,
Like,
he's just pure
but
chaos.
and I think that's why we love him. He is pure, and he's not like neutral. He is chaotic evil.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think we've gotten chaotic evil in a while, and like at least something that's portrayed like this well. I think that's why a lot of people like me, you know, I don't like relate to the character at all, but like in a way we kind of like connect with it in a strange way, you know? Like he's funny, he's scary, but also like it ties to the whole reason that we love horror to begin with is the way I interpret it is like you can be like afraid of death or afraid of dying and like, oh, I don't want to watch horror movies, they scare me. Or it's like, well, you can embrace it because I think that's what horror is. It's like embracing death. It's like, yeah, it's inevitable. And like, you know, why not? Let's have some fun while we're at it. And yeah, and I feel like art embodies that very much so because he's very much like, haha, he's funny. He can be a funny clown, silly. He can also be like the most horrifying person you'd ever want to meet. And I think there's just something that dichotomy or whatever, like those two elements, I feel like that's what draws a lot of people to him. And I mean, aside from his look, because like his look is just iconic.
Yeah, I love that. This has been such a good conversation. Listeners, I hope our first Terrifier episode of the Would You Die podcast lived up to the hype of not covering. That's so strange to me. I have not covered Terrifier in any capacity until now as a horror podcaster of 2 years.
That's interesting, but I mean, this is a great time for it because now, you know, the Terrifier hype train just keep growing, and we're about to get Terrifier 3 in like seven and a half months, but who's counting?
That's awesome, man. This has been so much fun. Before I let you go, do you want to tell the people where they can find you and your work, should you want to be found?
Yeah, so if you want to come say hi, you can find me online. I'm on most social media platforms at Dustin Hendrix 6. And I also have a YouTube channel for my production company. It's Tin Hen Productions. Our film English Breakfast, we just finally got to release it after having its festival run. So feel free to check that out. Leave a comment. I love to read comments and like know what people like and what they didn't like.
Awesome, man. This has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me on, Austin. This has been a wonderful experience, and I'm so glad that you appreciate Jurassic Park as much as I do.
Yes, yes. Jurassic Park fans will find a way.
Oh man.
Yeah, when you get us Jurassic Park fans together, you have to hold on to your butts because we spare no expense.
And then everyone else is like, that is one big pile of shit.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Thank you, Dustin, for joining me today. I'm very happy to finally talk about Art the Clown on the show, and I'm very excited for Terrifier 3. So, probably another Art the Clown episode coming later this year. An announcement. The Patreon is back. That's right. If you really want to support this podcast, you can help me directly by subscribing to the Patreon. I retooled it so it's only $3 a month, and you'll get exclusive content and live streams for patrons only. $3 might not seem like a lot, but every little bit helps me continue this horror podcasting content creation life as long as I can. It really helps me a lot. And, you know, that's not the only way you can help me if you like this show. Another way you can help is just, if you like this show, let me know. Leave reviews and rate on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow me on my various social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you're most comfortable. Content creation is playing to the algorithms, and the algorithms care if you guys like interact. So if you like this podcast, like those posts or whatever. And that's a great way to help this little podcast grow. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Would You Die YouTube channel. You can watch video versions of these podcasts. You can watch my short film, Ice Cream. And don't forget to check out my latest live stream show, Do You Want to Play a Game? The first episode has my friends Bobby and Mike of the People Under the Scares podcast. It was a blast, guys. It was a 3-hour behemoth, but it was a blast. It was so much fun. I think I'm going to do more of these game shows, try and make them monthly, but we'll see. Because that was a lot, but it was a lot of fun. So check that out. A reminder, I just became an affiliate for Fangoria, one of the premier brands in horror. I definitely recommend checking out their magazine and even subscribing. And if you decide to do that, don't forget to use the promo code WoodYouDieShow for 20% off your entire order. You can find the show's social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Would You Die Show. Also, now you can follow me on TikTok at Would You Die Podcast. Would You Die is a partner with the Three Wise Men Media, a Metro Detroit-based group of awesome guys, Kyle, Tyler, and Dylan, where they bring you professional wrestling, indie comic books, and so much more. The music you hear in the beginning and end of each episode is composed by my friend Josie Palmer. Next week, we're pitting two horror icons against each other, because why not? Until next time, I'm Austin Torres. Try not to die.